Let's put our hands together for today's MC, Vicki McKenna.
Welcome! Welcome! Welcome to your house. It's a nice house we live in, isn't it? Before we start today's event, we're going to begin, folks, with a Pledge of Allegiance, and I better hear you from the crowd. Are you ready? Face any flag you see. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if you could all please remove your caps if possible and stand if you are sitting for our national anthem. Please welcome Elizabeth Wellner, who has performed across the nation and, in fact, across Northern America, including for the Toronto Royal Conservatory. She is going to lead us in today's national anthem.
Thank you. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very, very, very much. Oh, I can't carry a tune. You people are lucky. It was not me singing the national anthem. Could you please grab that sign for me? I'd appreciate it. We'll figure out what to do with it. Signs might be flying everywhere. If you happen to catch one of our signs coming off the podium, grab it and hold it up. I want to see everybody's signs. If you don't have one, there are people distributing them around the crowd. Now, before we really kick off, folks, what I'd like to do, if I could please ask you to observe a moment of silence in honor of Officer George Gonzalez, who was murdered at the Pentagon, and all law enforcement officers and all emergency personnel who have made the ultimate sacrifice for us. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And please thank the officers who are protecting this event today. We couldn't do it without them. Never can. All right, I am Vicki McKenna, and welcome, and rise up, Wisconsin. We are here because we are rising up. We are not here to ask if we can please, pretty please, have a full forensic cyber audit of our elections. That's not why we're here. I'm not here to ask anybody anything. That's my house. That's your house. And the people inside work for us. We are here to demand it. I'm tired of being nice. We've asked nicely. We've asked very, very nicely. We have 13 months left. That means that this group of people inside that Capitol have been wasting time trying to figure out ways not to tell us yes. We will audit this election. Why do we want the election audited? Trump won. Well, that's that simple. A whole bunch of reasons. Where shall I start? How about the city of Madison? Shall we start with Madison? Madison hosted a ballot harvesting operation called Democracy in the Park. I like to call it stealing elections in the park, but they called it Democracy in the Park because for the Democrats, stealing elections is in fact democracy. That's not in my Merriam-Webster, but it appears they're trying to change the definitions on the fly. And what they did was they just took people who were handing over ballots, throwing them in canvas zipper bags into the back trunks of cars. Who knows? Who knows whether or not any of those ballots were valid? When we pointed this out to members of the legislature who could have stopped it, what did we get from them? Squat! We got a sternly worded letter. We got a letter. A lawyer who wrote a letter who said, I don't think that's legal. No, it's not legal. We really think that you should probably segregate those ballots, if you want to. They didn't want to, so they mixed them in. We never could identify whether or not those ballots were valid or whether or not any of those ballots were invalid. They were mixed into the giant pile along with everything else. That was thousands and thousands of ballots, and that's just in Madison, and that's just one event. We know that the Wisconsin Elections Commission took it upon themselves to alter the law to make invalid ballots valid. How many? Thousands, right around 26,000 in fact, well beyond the margin that Joe Biden allegedly won Wisconsin by. And that's just two things now. We've got thousands of ballots, somewhere around 10,000 ballots in the city of Madison being harvested illegally without any kind of chain of custody. And we had the Wisconsin Elections Commission curing bad ballots so that they would count. But wait, I'm not done. We had more. We had 206,000 people's names on a voter registration list who had no business being on a voter registration list. We couldn't get the Wisconsin Elections Commission to take those names off the list. What did we find out yesterday? When they finally took the names off the list, 31,000 of total failed matches on that list voted. What was that margin? Joe Biden won Wisconsin by again? Now we're adding them up. All right, let's keep adding them up. 26,000 plus 10,000 plus 31,000. But we're not done yet. We had somewhere in the neighborhood of 18,000 people not show voter ID for their absentee ballots. They were not lawfully able to skirt the voter ID law. Those ballots were invalid. They were counted. We tried to get the Wisconsin Supreme Court to help us out there. The Wisconsin Supreme Court pretty much did the same thing that the legislative lawyer did. Told us to get bent. I'm kind of tired of being told to get bent by my government. I'm kind of tired of being told that the ship is sailed on the November election.
It's gone, baby.
Oh, it's gone. We don't want to know how much cheating there was. We don't want to know how many people voted from non-existent addresses. We don't want to know how many people who didn't live in Wisconsin and in fact don't exist and are actually ghosts actually cast a ballot somehow, magically, miraculously in Wisconsin for Joe Biden. We want to know these things. How do we find out? Now, God bless Michael Gableman. He was a fine Wisconsin Supreme Court justice while he served. God bless the retired law enforcement officer who is assisting him. These are good people. They have no resources. They have no subpoena power. They have no authority. They have no plan. That is what we have been told by the legislature is what an audit consists of. I've never heard of an audit with two guys with no money and no subpoena power and not even an idea of how to file open records requests actually being defined as an audit. But then again, they did define democracy as cheating and harvesting ballots in parks in the city of Madison. So Lord knows what the new definition of audit is. We've also been told that the State Legislative Audit Bureau, it's in the name, is supposedly looking at this election. Are they gathering the absentee ballots? Are they going to investigate Milwaukee's central count? Are they going to look into the reason why machines in Green Bay were connected to the internet and why one single partisan operative had functional control of the whole process in the city? Is that what the Legislative Audit Bureau is going to look for? No. They're not going to investigate the machines. They're not going to pull the ballots. They are not going to do investigations on the voter list and the people who failed the registration checks. They're not going to investigate democracy in the park. They are not going to look at the complete disaster that was the central count, where thousands and thousands of ballots were dumped right around midnight while all of us thought Trump had won Wisconsin, only to magically push Joe Biden over the edge just by enough to get out of recount territory. They're not going to look at the central count. They're not going to look at the $6 million that Mark Zuckerberg poured into 5 key cities in Wisconsin to increase turnout illegally for Joe Biden by operatively changing the process of the election. That's not what they're doing. We need to wait. Anybody paying attention to what's going on in Maricopa County? You know why? Because it's totally transparent. Because they have video cameras allowing us to observe and to watch, to make sure that we know everything is on the up and up. Why? Because Arizona wants people to trust the elections. Does Wisconsin want people to trust the elections? Do Wisconsin Republicans want people to trust the elections? I don't think they do. Or I would have behind me the entire Republican legislative leadership team going, "Atta girl, Vic, give them hell. We're with you, honey." That ain't happening. You got two people from the Wisconsin legislature who will be addressing you today. Janelle Brandtjen. She is a one-woman army. Janelle Brandtjen and Timothy Ramthan, who wouldn't take a vote against his own principles if you put a gun to his head. These are the people you're going to hear from. You're going to hear from people who are in Maricopa County, who saw exactly what happened, who understand that what we need in this state is a cyber forensic, full forensic audit with a sum sufficient budget to pay the team, pay the lawyers, and issue the subpoenas. I am going to now invite up to this podium somebody who deserves every single person in this audience's thanks and then some. Because she has pushed against the pressure to tell her to sit down, shut up, and don't indulge the plebes. Don't indulge the people. The people want an audit, by the way. The majority of America, 55%, say they want these elections audited. And so for standing up for people, she's getting flack, not just from the press, but from some people on her own team. But for the amazing work that has already been done by State Representative Janelle Brandtjen, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't even know what's going on. So without further ado, please stand up if you're sitting down if you can. If you can't stand up, I understand. But scream, put your signs up, put your hands together for the incredible one-woman army, Janelle Brandtjen.
Yeah.
This is your show, honey.
Do you want to tell him? So, Vicki, we have something I don't know if everybody knows in the crowd, and I figured you'd be the one to tell them. So, I sent out a subpoena for Brown County and Milwaukee County.
You want me to tell him this?
I do.
Well, because she's got a bigger sack than most guys, I probably shouldn't have said that. But she does. This lady here has just issued subpoenas. Right here. So she's got balls. For Milwaukee and Brown counties, two of the worst offenders in the election. Two of the worst offenders.
First of all, thank you so much for showing up today. It's it's a beautiful day, and being here today around all you is almost as good as church, really. Come on. We're all here for the same reason. We know that our country, we're worried about it, right? And we're here because as we had these 2020 elections, Vicki really laid it out very nice. We had people in Green Bay from New York. Can you imagine flying in from New York? Putting yourself into the Green Bay clerk, allowing him to come up with a curing process, training our poll workers, having that opportunity to be there on election day with keys to the room and an ID that says that you work for the city of Green Bay. And you're going to find this shocking, folks. You're going to find this shocking. They don't have any records that he ever worked for them. You know, that's a story that really doesn't get presented. Can you imagine if one of us had the opportunity to work in the clerk's office weeks before the election? What do you think would happen?
Chocolate being off.
You deserve to know the truth, and it has been a long process. So we put out the subpoenas this morning. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, well, you know, I don't know if she has that power or not, but I want to thank the representatives of the state of Wisconsin for supporting us with, believe it or not, Resolution AR-15, which gave me subpoena power. So we will go to bed tonight knowing that we are going to have that opportunity to look at two things. We're going to look at the ballots, the physical ballots, and we're going to look at the machines. And we're going to have that opportunity, right? Ballots and machines. And the reason we're doing that is because your clerks and your observers and all the people that helped with the election, they may or may not know some of the things that are on our system. So we want to make sure it is my job as a representative to do oversight, because you guys elected me to do that, right? We are going to fulfill that obligation to go through the oversight process, and we're going to go through Brown, and we're going to go through Milwaukee County, and we're going to put it to bed. And this is not something that we're going to be doing just in 2020. We're going to be doing it every year going forward, because Wisconsin deserves fair and transparent elections. God bless you. Thank you. And the best is yet to come for the state of Wisconsin. We're going to finally put this to bed. Amen. Thank you.
Awesome. How about everybody? Thank you, Janelle. So, someone told me that OAN is filming live. Say hi from Wisconsin. I'm bringing up somebody else who actually was one of the very, very few people who publicly went on the record demanding a proper full forensic audit in the state of Wisconsin, and he even used the words, like Maricopa County. An elected representative, no less. And what did they do to him? What did they do to Timothy Rampton? They smeared him. They smeared him in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, or as I like to call it, USA Today, the Milwaukee edition. They smeared him. They accused him of being a conspiracy theorist based on no evidence. Why? Because he said we should know what happened in our elections. As if that's a conspiracy. For heaven's sakes, you've got Democrats who still don't accept that Bush won. But Timothy Rampton's a conspiracy theorist. He's not. He loves this country, he loves this state, and he wants to make sure that our elections are legal, regular, and we trust them. Please welcome State Representative from the 59th, Timothy Rampton.
Wow. Holy smokes. Woo. Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow patriots. Thank you so very much for coming. But there's one thing I must lead off with. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. I am State Representative Timothy Rampton. I am joined today by my lovely wife, Carol Ann, my staff, Jared Heckman and Tristan Johannes, with his daughter, Scarlett. I needed them to be here for this historic occasion, and they are. I am humbled beyond measure to be here with you today and with those behind me who I greatly admire and respect. I would like to thank Sheriff David Clark for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. You know, it only takes one man, one person at one time on any situation to make a difference, and that's the guy right there. I want to thank him for this opportunity to speak. I'm humbled by it beyond measure. I'm also very pleased to finally get to meet one of our favorite warriors, Vicki McKenna. There's never a moment when you listen to her and you don't come away with something better than you had before you started. So she's awesome, and God bless her. Lastly, I'm most grateful to be able to work with State Representative Janelle Branchin on this most important issue facing our nation. Without her, we wouldn't be where we are. Team and power in numbers will get you wherever you want to go, anytime, anywhere, with anything, and I'm glad I'm there with her, and I will never leave her side. I am your atypical servant of, by, and for the people. That's why I'm here. Despite any arrow or smear attempt, I will never waver from that or my dutiful obligation to serve you, period. End of story. That obligation compelled me to call for a full fiber forensic audit. You demanded it, you deserve it. Our current situation is unprecedented. There are many moving parts, many dependencies, many surprises, and many developments within Wisconsin and nationally that share the concerns that support taking this action. The timing's right. The timing's right. To that end, it's important for us to maintain a semblance of order and respect, especially for members of the Republican Party, not the only ones seeking the truth. I can't get any position or comment back from my Democratic colleagues on this issue, and it puzzles me because if I were them, I'd want to prove that guy wrong, and they're quiet, and I don't get that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, okay, I do get it, but I just thought I'd, see what would happen with that. Anyhow, the truth will only come from a full cyber forensic audit. Now, here's where I need a little help from all of you and a little understanding. So, I recently had a very beneficial conversation with State Representative Barbara Dietrich. She's a great lady, and we're tight. Her questions and inquiries were very helpful to me in defining where my Republican colleagues may be on this issue. They're looking for detail on a plan, which will come when the understanding to take the action occurs. The scope statement for the full cyber forensic audit will be the necessary last element that should garner their full public support. Many of my GOP colleagues are already there. I know they are. I've talked to several of them. But, if I role-played for a moment, I kind of get there like, well, I'm not quite sure. I need a little bit more information, I need some time, whatever. But here's what I need. I got to work with these guys, and they're good people, so hang on. But many of them are already there, but they haven't been as outspoken as myself or Representative Branchin. But I ask for everyone's patience with their timing.
How much time do they need?
I gotta put it out there. I gotta work with these guys. So meet me in the middle on it. I will continue to work to get my colleagues to the point where they can say yes publicly to a full cyber forensic audit. Like I said earlier, you, the people, demand it, and you deserve it, nothing less than that. Okay? In closing, and I'm just getting warmed up, but in closing, as a servant of, by, and for the people, I work for you. Due to my dutiful obligation to serve you, I could do nothing less. With your continued help and support, we will get this done. Thank you again for participating in this historic event. Have a blessed day and be safe. Thank you.
I like to have some takeaways. And my takeaway is they haven't heard from us enough. That's my takeaway, because it's been 9 months. How much more time do you need? I got an idea. Besides showing up today, how about everybody get on the phone, send that email, get your friends to do it about 100 times. Let's remind them that time is wasting. Why? And I'm just going to really tell you quickly why. 13 months is what we would have to actually do this audit, analyze it, and then fight the court challenges that will inevitably be coming from the Democrats. That's not a lot of time. So let's get on the stick. Let's get on the stick, legislature. And I know that Timothy Ramthun is working hard, as is Janelle Branchin. How much more time do the rest of them need? I say we give them a couple of more weeks, max. That's just me. Feel free to disregard if you want to. But I've been doing this a while. I don't know what that guy is saying, but if it's push, 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 like we're having a baby, an audit baby. I have no idea what he's saying. All right, I want to bring up our next guy. Our next guy is Perfecto Rivera, who is a former business development director for the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, but also a radio host, a fellow compadre of moi. He hosts a show on Sunday mornings on News Talk 1130 WISN. By the way, since we're mentioning call letters, so do I. Just saying. WIPA, WISN. All right, but Perfecto Rivera also, so the show is called Valor Latino, but he's also on the board of directors of this awesome organization, Rise Up Wisconsin. Please give a warm welcome to Perfecto Rivera.
This is quite an honor. Raise your banners, please. RiseUpWisconsin.com. Thank you so much. Real quickly, because I have such an unusual name, Perfecto. My wife will tell you that doesn't exist, but I came to Wisconsin when I was a 5-year-old kid. I did not know that my name was Perfecto until I went to school. And I came home, my language was Spanish, and I told my mother that the teacher wants to call me Perfecto. And she hugged me and said, "Oh, honey, es tu nombre. That's your name." So, okay. Anyway, it was, and I will say that because of that, and because the teachers would not call me that name, and so the bullies in the classrooms always wanted to pick on me, but fortunately I had an older brother that taught me how to use these, and we became the anti-bullies in our community. Anyway, with that, just a little background. My brother and I, we had an international advertising agency called Rivera and Associates. We did work for all the who's who corporations in the state of Wisconsin, Kohler Companies, Dremel Tools, Harness, you name them all. That was sort of our way to earn money, to make a living, and he was very good at that. I ended up working for Tommy Thompson as the executive assistant in the revenue department under a great leader, Mark Buer, and I was really privileged there. Where I'm going with all of this is that I've had some unique experiences in my life, and the one that I want to end with is that in my history, I also ran and worked a number of the polling sites in Milwaukee County, and I was hired the last time that our governor, Scott Walker, I remember that election, and I was now the chief of that ward at the senior center in Washington Park, and my job was to make sure that those ballots were counted and submitted by 9 o'clock. Okay, and we struggled and we fought and we did whatever it took to make sure that those ballots got there in time and were counted. I went to bed that evening after midnight thinking that my governor had won, only to wake up and find out that it was stolen. These are my words. Okay, where I'm going with this is that with regard to the forensic audit, I have that experience in the back to show me that we need this forensic audit in Wisconsin. We need to feel safe that our votes were in fact counted, And so I'm so happy that Sheriff David Clark, we've had a friendship for a number of years, and we've had a chance to connect, and I'm now privileged to serve on this board, and I'm more privileged to be in the company of all the folks here at this meeting tonight. So we need to fight for that forensic audit. We need to make this a reality because our votes, our real votes, need to be counted. Thank you very much.
So somebody told me that there is a bus from Anago. Really? Anago. I see somebody with a sign that says Langlade County. That's not exactly an easy drive to get to our state capital. How many of you came from more than 50 miles outside the city? How many of you came from more than 100? Thank you for coming. Thank you. How many of you people are from Madison? Not enough. Thank you for coming, but that's not enough. And I'm surprised, quite frankly, because the Dane County Republican Party Executive Board is on record as being supportive of a full forensic cyber audit in Wisconsin. They deserve a lot of credit for that, but I would have liked to have seen more of them. All right. So the next guy is the reason why this organization exists. The first We the People lobby. This isn't a lobby for an issue. It isn't a lobby for a candidate. It isn't a lobby for a position. It's a lobby for us. That's what it is. It's called Rise Up Wisconsin, but it's, to my mind, the We the People lobby of Wisconsin, and it's about damn time. We are here organized this so that we could be here not to ask nicely any longer. That's what we're here for. To demand that we, the people, in this representative government be respected. And we're asking for something really simple. Let's just check their work on the elections. They didn't want to show their work. I think they cheated. They say no. Let's check their work. Now, Rise Up Wisconsin is not a PAC for a candidate. However, I would like to say this, utterly not as a representative of this organization today. Someone walked up here and gave Sheriff Clark this t-shirt. I'm not sure how many of you can see it. It says, Governor Clark, David Clark 2022. What do you think? What do you think? One more time. Oh. Please, God, make that happen. Just want that to happen. I want to bring up the toughest fighter in the entire state, maybe in the whole country. This is a guy who's been attacked, he's been smeared, he's been defamed, he's been called names, he's been lied about, he has been misunderstood, he has been misrepresented, but all he is our representative of the people in Wisconsin for Rise Up Wisconsin, the founder of Rise Up Wisconsin, and maybe someday the governor, David Clark.
It's a junked out joint off a back road. I'm blinking when the sign with an arrow. A gravel lot chock full of toolbox trucks, making their happy hour way home. When guys like me lose girls like you, that's where we run to.
Good afternoon, everybody!
A honky-tonk sawdust dance floor, a neon 5 o'clock road clock.
Rise Up Wisconsin!
Cart full on an old bar stool, drinking beer almost as cold as you.
Blue lives matter! Blue lives matter! Blue lives matter! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here today. I want to remind people, as I always do, folks, this is not about me. This is about you. This is about freedom and liberty throughout the United States. This is about the state of Wisconsin. It's what you want, not these public rulers, which is what they've become. It's not what they want. I do not care what they think. They were sent here to carry out your will, not theirs. And like any other person who's in a position of service, if you're not living up to the expectations, you can be dismissed. Now, I want you to listen to a couple of comments that were made before the 2020 election. All by Democrats. Adam Schiff, I continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable. He's right. Representative Sheila Jackson of Texas, our resources have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot reporting machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering. A Democrat. Representative Jennifer Wexton, in 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another. A Democrat. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, the biggest seller of voting machines, is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software which would make the machine like that of a magnet for fraudsters and hackers. A Democrat. This is what they thought about our voting process here in the United States before 2020. Representative Ted Lieu of California. These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
Workers were able to easily hack into the electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes. A Democrat. He also went on to say in a close presidential election, they just need to hack just one swing state or maybe two in just a few counties to swing that entire state. A Democrat said that. Senator Amy Klobuchar said you could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling them. I'm very concerned that you could have a hack that finally went through. It's the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risk. A Democrat said that. Senator Kamala Harris, now Vice President. She said there are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, which are vulnerable to being hacked. I actually held a demonstration for my colleagues here in the Capitol where we brought in folks who before our eyes hacked election machines. Those are being used in many states. A Democrat. And finally, Senator Mark Warren of Virginia. We know how vulnerable our systems were. I know that the hackathon that took place last year, where virtually every machine was broken into very quickly. These were comments about our voting process made by Democrats. And now we're being told by not only Democrats, but GOP members of the Wisconsin State Legislature that we should trust the process. My response to that is, hell no. Now, I want to be very clear on this. Our effort at Rise Up Wisconsin is twofold. First, it's about restoring confidence in our voting process, and second, to get reluctant state Republican lawmakers to do the will of the people and fix our flawed election process. I also want to make it clear what this is not. It is not an attempt to reverse the November 2020 election results. What it is a blueprint and a way forward toward the 2022 midterms, which are going to be subject to the same cheating apparatus if we don't root it out. Keep in mind that a U.S. Senate seat hangs in the balance here in the state of Wisconsin. The Democrats are targeting that seat, currently held by Ron Johnson, and one U.S. Senator being defeated could shift the power of balance in the United States Senate and throughout the country. And also, the governor of this state is up for re-election as well. We have to fix this now. Wisconsin voters have a right to be guaranteed that the election process is first fair and honest, that it's tamper-proof, that there be more transparency built into the process, and most importantly, we, the people, must never surrender our right to scrutinize election results. And that's what we're doing here. It is our right to do so. Most of these voting problems were brought about when the Wisconsin Election Commission, the WEC, who had no authority to do so, exploited a pandemic to order for the first time in our state history mass mail-in voting, where a ballot was mailed without request to every person on the voter roll without determining if they were deceased, had moved, or were still even eligible to vote. Or even if they planned on voting, they were still sent a ballot. Some ballots were sent by email. People were told to download the ballot. Ladies and gentlemen, you know this. This is a recipe for fraud. WEC has become a rogue agency that should be disbanded immediately. So what do we do? Well, there are a number of things that need to be addressed, like getting the unelected Wisconsin Election Commission to follow state law and not make things up in the middle of the voting process. The WEC has become a partisan political hack and a de facto wing of the Democrat Party. They think they are accountable to no one. Election laws were not followed at the local level either, where officials advised voters to mark their ballot as indefinitely confined when many were not. One Wisconsin legislator actually did that and was found vacationing not long after she voted. That is not my definition of indefinitely confined. And she wasn't prosecuted either. Ballots were harvested and cured by election workers in violation of election law. Ballot integrity in this state does not exist. There has to be a chain of custody when a ballot is sent out. Currently, ballots have no markers, no watermark, no barcode, no QR code or number to be able to establish the authenticity of the mail-in ballot received. It establishes a chain of custody. Voting machines used to tabulate votes are not secure and thus susceptible to manipulation, as the Democrats indicated prior to the 2020 presidential election. There needs to be a standard time for all voting districts to turn in ballots after the election so that an accurate count at the same time can be made. Milwaukee held theirs back, allowing the Democrat Party to know exactly how many votes they would need to overcome the vote deficit. Votes were counted outside the inspection of Republican officials in violation of state law. Judges with no authority to do so said that ballots received after Election Day could still be counted. Election Day became election week. The United States Constitution, in Article 2, Section 1 is very clear. It says that election law is the purview of state legislatures. It is not a shared power with the judicial or the executive branch. It is time for this GOP-controlled legislature to stand up, to exercise their duty under the Constitution and not let some other branch trample all over it. That did not happen either during or after November of 2020. As you can see, our voting process is outdated, it's antiquated, and therefore susceptible to fraud. Our election process resembles that in a banana republic. All the chicanery and hijinks that occurred has left a bitter taste in many voters' mouths. Voters have no confidence in this election process, nor should they.
That's a fact.
This no confidence cannot be swept under the rug like Assembly Speaker Voss and Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu want to do. Folks, we cannot just move on. We will not move on. We have to get this right. This may be our last chance. We should never let good enough in this process be good enough. We have to approach a standard not of perfection, excellence, and we're nowhere near it. If people continue to think that the voting process is rigged, many will bail out and not participate, feeling that their vote doesn't count anyway. Keep in mind that elections are the only time that we, the people, can affect our government. The other 364 days, government officials affect you, and often in ways that you did not consent to. That's how important elections are. Now on the issue of a need for a full cyber forensic audit. This is being thwarted by Assembly Speaker Robin Voss and Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu. They are ignoring the will of a growing number of Wisconsin voters like you here today, and they're substituting their judgment for yours. They are acting like public rulers instead of public servants. They were elected to carry out your will. They are public servants, not public rulers. Now, Assembly Speaker Voss has been running interference against a Maricopa-style full cyber forensic audit. In doing so, he's protecting the status quo, and he's disenfranchising every Wisconsin voter. He's playing that game of wordsmithing and changing what he says every week to make it appear that he supports fixing Wisconsin elections. He initially said, quote, "I don't know what a forensic audit would prove." He hasn't even looked, but he's already formed a conclusion. First, Voss called for an investigation. Then he assembled what he labeled a special counsel, consisting of a retired judge and 3 retired law enforcement officers, none of whom have any forensic auditing experience or expertise. In fact, special counsel Gaberman said on TV last Sunday that he didn't know what a forensic audit was by definition. My thought on that is maybe Mike Gableman is the wrong person for that position. He may be a nice guy. I'm not looking for nice guys. Now ask yourself, is Mike Gableman the right person to lead this cyber forensic audit? Would you call in your mechanic to do your dental work, for heaven's sakes? A mechanic might be good with a wrench, but I don't want him sticking it inside my mouth. Like a career politician, Voss keeps changing the terminology of what he's doing to keep fooling voters about what his scam is. He has handed you a crap sandwich, and now he's running around trying to convince you that it tastes good. Voss flat out thinks that you are stupid, but I know that you are not. That's why we're here. Do not take the cheese from Assembly Speaker Voss. In moving forward to restore confidence in our vote, it is imperative, ladies and gentlemen, that we start with a full-blown Maricopa County, Arizona-style cyber forensic audit that includes a number of things, but it also includes examining the 3.3 million ballots cast in November of 2020, along with the voting machines. Then we can come up with a comprehensive package to take to the legislature because they didn't do their job. And we can say, here's what will tighten up this election process. None will ever be perfect, but like I said, we got to get to excellence. And unless we dig and peel the layers back, we won't know where the cheating apparatus is. We won't know where the fraud exists to be able to tighten those loopholes.
It's in the building!
A full cyber forensic audit, and those words are important, not just an audit, and not just a forensic audit, a full cyber forensic audit will unearth the patterns of fraud. I've seen it. It involves checking the vote tabulating machines to determine if they have internet connection capability that would allow for hacking. Just the capability. I'm not suggesting they were hooked to the internet, but if they have the capability, we don't want those machines because they're susceptible to fraud. Second, we need to check the operating statement code of the machines and the application code and run test ballots through. Check each paper ballot to determine if it was printed or run through a copier. Conduct a deep analysis of the voter rolls and voter cast information. Some entities are already analyzing this, and what they're finding is not pretty. This will determine if the voter is still alive, lives at the address on the roll, and if the address is an actual residence or not. Some of this analysis early on is finding people using commercial buildings and post office boxes as legal residents. You cannot do that in the state of Wisconsin. That is an illegally cast ballot. These things are required by law in order to be valid. The people who we entrusted to watch this for us are looking the other way. Now, the only thing standing in the way of a full-blown Maricopa County-style cyber forensic audit of the 2020 Wisconsin vote is Assembly Speaker Robin Voss and Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu, who continue with their dog and pony show. Special counsel, along with 3 retired law enforcement officers, like I said, two who have already quit before they even got started. A full-blown cyber forensic auditor specializes in a particular brand of auditing. It is an expertise. That does not describe retired Judge Michael Gableman or 3 retired law enforcement officers. I was in law enforcement for nearly 40 years. I investigated everything. I walked beats on 3rd shift in the middle of winter. I worked in the detective bureau. When I got promoted to detective, I investigated Part 1 crimes, armed robberies, shootings. I was on the homicide unit. And then when I got promoted to lieutenant, I commanded the shift homicide unit. Ladies and gentlemen, with all of that experience, I have no qualifications to be a forensic auditor. So I don't want to hear about how, and this isn't really about Justice Gableman. He was asked to do this job, okay? He stepped up to serve, but he's not getting the support of the resources. You'll be told he is, because Speaker Voss said, well, if he needs a couple more investigators, he can do that. A couple more, he's going to need hundreds of volunteers to get this done. He's going to need a budget of about $3 to $5 million, none of which Voss has authorized him to do, and until he does, I will not think this is serious.
That's right. That's right. It's taxpayer dollars, too.
You know, as I indicated earlier, there's a couple of things that we deserve and we demand as residents of this state: fair and honest elections, transparency, and the right to scrutinize election results. Any cyber forensic audit has to be done in plain view. We want to watch.
That's right.
Transparency is what I'm talking about. If you think for 1 second that this dog and pony show put together by Assembly Speaker Voss is going to be done in the light of day, no, it will be done behind closed doors. That is not acceptable to us. We want to watch. And if they were to ask me, Sheriff, don't you trust him? I'd say, no, I don't. No, I don't. I want to see. In closing, let me say this. We the people deserve better. We the people deserve the best. And And until Voss and LeMahieu order a full-blown cyber forensic audit of the November 2020 election, we the people will keep beating the drum and apply bottom-up pressure until we get what we want. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.
Sunset through a windshield, I can see it now, like a picture in a frame. Oh. Blue jeans and t-shirts, who we wore it like a name. I wish I could go back to those days when the town was the whole world and love was the girl next door. Soundtrack with a song in the dark. I miss those days when our dreams were there for chasing. The time was better wasted. We were summer young and living for a Friday.
Yeah, I can get to the mic up here. Got a little bit more for you guys. Again, thank you for coming out. I love that gigantic sign. All you people with the gigantic sign. I love it when people make gigantic signs. All right. So while you were listening to Sheriff Clark, I looked up a couple of things, and I wanted to share this with you if I can get to my images here. Thank you, by the way, also for posing nicely for a picture. We already had software problems in an election in Wisconsin, but nobody bothered to report on it in the mainstream media. In 2018, in the Milwaukee County Sheriff's race, the Democrats' votes were double counted because of a software glitch. But there's no reason to worry. It's only, happened before. But why worry about it? Incidentally, we are being described by the USA Today Milwaukee edition, aka the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, as a group of people who wants to seize ballots and voting machines. We don't want to seize. You can go and find Molly Beck on Twitter if you'd like to and let her know what you think about that. We're not here to seize ballots. We want to investigate ballots. We just want, someone just behind me said, we want the damn truth. That's all we want. That isn't seizing anything except seizing back the truth from the narrative and the litany of lies that our press continues to spend. So I've got another person to invite, though, to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Len Boltz. He came all the way from Langlade County, wherever that sign is out there. Get you Langlade people, get those signs up. 20-year Air Force veteran pilot. And he knows exactly what's going on. As the vice chairman of the Republican Party in Langlade County, calling for a forensic audit, and knows an awful lot about what is going on in Maricopa County. So if you don't mind, please, hands together, stand up for Air Force veteran Len Boltz.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's inspiring to see so many people out here that care about the future of Wisconsin elections in our country. Thanks for being out here, folks. It's great to see you. I'm Leonard Boltz, Vice Chairman of the Republican Party of Langlade County. We brought a busload of people down here, and they're right out here. And they're great Americans, and I'm honored to be with them. I was very fortunate to be able to get out to Maricopa County. My chairman, Terry Brand, and I decided that it was high time Wisconsin get out to Maricopa County because every other state had been out there except Wisconsin. All the battleground states had been out there at least, and many that weren't battleground states. So, we decided it was time to do something. So we got some funding together. I called Janelle Branch and said, Janelle, we got money. We're going to send you out there. Hurry, because it's almost over. She goes, hey, you're just a little late. We just found some other funding, and they're going to send us out before you. So we got to save the money. However, through a couple different deals and luck, I was able to join the delegation. Now, that worked out awfully well because a lot of the delegation sort of got muzzled. Have you aware of that? That Robin Voss muzzled most of the people that went out there? He didn't really want us to go out there. Robin Voss never wanted the delegation to go. You're right. He's got to go. Well, when he finally found out that Janelle and some others were absolutely adamant to go out there, he decided to embrace the idea and say that it was his idea to go out there. Now, it's interesting because when we went out there and came back, wouldn't you think that Janelle would have been asked to address the assembly with all the things that we had learned out there? Are you surprised to learn she was never asked to do that? She was never asked to address the Senate. The Republican Party of Wisconsin never was interested in talking to her. Nobody wanted to talk to her. Nobody wanted to hear about this. But guess what? I can talk about it because I don't work for Robin Voss. They decided to do things out there in Arizona very different than the way Democrats do it. They decided, instead of being behind closed doors, instead of being cloak and dagger, instead of the kind of secrets that Democrats do, we were going to do it totally open. The Republicans were going to have it totally open. The reason Democrats have to do it that way is because they lie, cheat, and steal. They do illegal things every day. They can't have anything open, transparent. They can't have cameras on them. They do everything behind closed doors. Well, Maricopa County decided we're going to do it in a coliseum or a stadium. They found one, Veterans Memorial Coliseum. It was the perfect size. It only holds 15,000. It had a roof on it, unlike Lambeau, and therefore it could be air conditioned, and they could have total security and transparency all at the same time. The place was lit up 24 hours a day, inside and out. There were armed guards all around. When we went in as a delegation, we had to go through a checkpoint like Checkpoint Charlie. They had M16s. Let me tell you, it was very, very secure. When we got in, we got a briefing, and we got to go out on the floor. The way they decided to set this up was they'd have the counting on the floor of the Coliseum with 9 huge cameras looking out over everything, and 90 little cameras looking at your every single move at all the stations. If any Democrats tried to make charges of fraud or illegalities, they could just say, well, what day did you see that? They'd say, well, it was on Tuesday. Well, they could go back on the tapes to Tuesday at 2 o'clock and say, now what's your problem? And you know what? There never was. They had the thing set up with color-coded teams to count the ballots. They only counted the presidential race and the Senate race. They didn't have time to count all the down ballots. But they were all in color-coded. And so if someone was out of their station, you would immediately see the color-coded T-shirts. You'd see somebody, they'd stand out like Nancy Pelosi at a Trump rally. Yeah, let me tell you, they have stuff there that you couldn't believe the security. I was in the Air Force, as was just mentioned, and I was in a squadron that carried nuclear weapons occasionally to transport them. And you know what? A lot of these procedures, I could tell, mirrored those back from the Air Force. Sure enough, when I found out who set up the plan, a lot of them were retired military officers, and I'm sure some from Strategic Air Command. So they did the counting, but before they did it, they set up a chain link fence on the floor of the Coliseum. That was, I call, the ballot jail. All the ballots had to go in there. Now, why wasn't it a locked chain link fence? Can you figure that out? So the cameras could look right through. Nobody could go into the thing without people seeing it. Everything was transparent. Everything was visible. So you had to go for a ballot. You had to sign it out. You had to take your ballot ballot box of 200 to your station, dump it upside down, take the first ballot out, put it on the turnstile, and go around. 5 people, they worked 5-hour shifts. They had to sign in and sign out to go to the bathroom, to get a donut, to get a cup of coffee, anything. Everybody was vetted and ID'd. It was like working around a nuclear plant. Honest to God, it was really something. So, the ballots, they counted them, but then they had to compare how many paper ballots they had for Dominion voting machine tallies, right? Do you think those matched up, folks? Boy, this is a smart crowd. You figured that out. Now, if you don't have quite enough, they did tell us that out of the boxes of 200, every box was between 5 and 7 ballots short. Every box. So, that's quite a few ballots short. Now, what would explain being short of ballots? Several things, but there's nothing to prevent somebody from taking a ballot for Biden and running it through that Dominion voting machine 3 times and then put the ballot in the box. There's nothing to prevent that. There are rumors floating around that they could be short as many as 17%. That's just a rumor, but they're going to be short paper ballots, I guarantee you. After the counting was done, then the ballot went to another station where it was really looked at closely. It was photographed front and back on a screen. That went in the database. Then it went to a station right next to it where the ballot was zoomed in on a microscopic camera to look at the actual mark on the ballot to see if it was made by a pen, a Sharpie, or a computer. They can tell all that, and they did. They also can tell if the ballot was actually requested, because if it was a requested absentee ballot, which there were 74,000 that were never requested, it would have to have a fold in it to get in the envelope to mail. I think there were quite a few that didn't have folds in it, folks. They look at the paper, they can look at the fibers, they can tell if that was a genuine ballot or if it was printed in somebody's basement. They're finding all this out, folks, and it's going to be coming out very soon. After that, then they go into the cyber portion. After they count and examine the ballots, they look at the machines. They can tell if ballots were deleted, were inflated, or if they were switched in any way. They can tell that. Cyber Ninjas knows how to do that. The Cyber Ninja CEO addressed us for nearly 30 minutes. And you know what? He told us in his 10 years in cybersecurity, because he is hired out by firms to do an investigation for their computer and see if it's liable to be hacked. He said in his 10 years of doing this, the Dominion security system was one of the worst 10 he had ever seen. What do you think about that? There's no security. He also said, now here's a man that made all his money and his life working on computers. He said the only way to have a fair and safe election is to use paper ballots. You know, for a computer guy to say, don't use computers, kind of like, a pilot telling you, hey, listen, I wouldn't get on this plane, I'd take the train. Don't get on this thing. And that's basically what Doug was telling us. Don't use computers because every single computer can be hacked. Every single computer, every single voting, machine, Dominion, whether it be HART or ES&S, all of them can be set to the internet, whether there's a plug-in or not. They're all able to be connected to the internet. So, a lesson we learned from Doug. After the cyber thing, there's one thing I really want to explain to you, and that's the adjudication rate. Does everybody know what adjudication rate is? Well, some of you do. I guess you're going to hear it whether you like it or not. Adjudication rate is when the machine can't read the ballot. When the Dominion voting machine can't read the ballot, it kicks it out for adjudication. That means it's a separate pile that is going to be set up, and that pile has to be looked at and cured or corrected by a human, usually by a corrupted poll worker that's probably paid off by Soros. process. But in any event, those have to be done. But the FEC sets some very, very strict guidance and limitations to how many ballots you can adjudicate. And the number they put was 0.0008. Now, for those that aren't math majors, that turns out to be you can adjudicate one ballot per 250,000 ballots. Okay, so in a county of 2.1 ballots in Maricopa, they would have only been able to adjudicate, quick math, 8 to 9 ballots, right? 8 to 9. You know how many they adjudicated? Does anybody know how many they adjudicated? 213,000 ballots were adjudicated. And you think that's bad. That's about a 10 to 11% rate. Well, that's pretty terrible when you're only allowed a 0.0008. You know, in Georgia, they had rates as high as 63%, and in Michigan, they had a county that had a 68% adjudication rate. That's got to stop. Folks, we need this cyber forensic audit. When you see how they do things, how carefully they are, how they examine everything, the chain of custody is never broken. They explain chain of custody as something that if you had a newborn baby and you were going to change that baby on a table, you'd never put the baby on the table and walk to the other room and get the diaper. You can't leave the baby. You can't leave the ballot either. You can't ever leave a ballot. When it's signed out, you're responsible for that ballot. And the chain of custody is never, ever broken in a true cyber forensic audit. All right. I've probably taken too much of your time. And I've tried giving you too much information. But in summary, I want to tell you this. We have to have this. There's so much fraud in Wisconsin. There's maybe more fraud in Wisconsin than there was in Maricopa County, and they had plenty. So, you know, our legislators, for the most part, with the exception of Janelle and a couple others, have failed us. Our courts have certainly failed us. Who's going to make this happen? You are. You are. We're going to have to force this issue, folks. We're going to have to keep the pressure on our legislators, keep the letters, the emails, the phone calls coming, but really it's still going to be up to us. Remember something. Politicians don't start parades. Politicians join parades. And we've got a hell of a parade out here right now that I think folks are going to be wanting to join very, very soon. Before we can fix the fraud, we need to find the fraud. And the only way we're going to do that is with a cyber forensic audit. We need this, folks. Please, keep working. Remember the power of one. If you would have told me 3 years ago that I was going to be up here working on this kind of stuff, I would have told you are absolutely crazy. The power of one is amazing. Look what Sheriff Clark has done. Look. I mean, you just stand up and join in. Call your Republican Party chairman and say, what can I do? He'll put you to work. Believe me, they all need more volunteers. Folks, I know we can do this, and I know we're going to do this together. So please, stay with us. Keep the faith. Keep working. Thank you so much for coming out here. May God bless you, and may God bless the USA.
All right, folks, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And this is only the beginning. It's not just a rally and then we go home and not do anymore. RiseUpWisconsin.com. RiseUpWisconsin.com. Write that down and look for the next calls to action. Because this isn't just about one time. One time, Robin Voss is going to ignore us. It's got to be more than one time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming from such great distances as well. If you don't have a Republican Party chair like Len, get one. For heaven's sakes, or run yourselves. Thank you all for coming. Please thank Madison Police Department, Capitol Police Department for keeping us safe today. Have a great afternoon.